Morning, afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. Cloudy here. Probably will end in rain. We had a lot of rain over the weekend. We are actually a little worried about flooding for a little while, but it all turned out okay. So I hope everything's okay where you are. So we're in a series, little things. Little things can make a big difference. And today we want to look at somebody, the first of our people. We looked at a whole church. We looked at the nation of Israel. And now we want to look at the first of many people we're going to look at. And the person we're going to look at is not a small person in the sense, I don't mean physically. I just mean in terms of importance, obviously, because we're going to talk about Jesus. What is unusual about Jesus is there's nothing about where he came from that went the way it was expected to go. You would not expect the Messiah for all of Israel to come from the place where he came from. While he had the right family line, because he was of the family of King David, everything about him was just little places, little places. And my point to this is we should never discount little things. We often discount ourselves because we think ourselves as just little old me, or I come from little old Clem too, and for me, little old Richboro over there, and the little old Markloff family, where the parents ended up divorced, right? Like we always have a thousand, maybe not a thousand, but lots of reasons why, we're just little old me. And part of my point in this series is never discount little things. Don't ever discount them. You would have expected, excuse me, that Jesus would have been born in the royal family, which he was, but not in a particular branch of the family that was well known. You would have thought he would have come from Jerusalem, the capital city, or something nearby, and that he would have grown up there, and that he would have spent all of his formative years in the main temple. Jesus did go to the main temple on a number of occasions. They're recorded in the Bible. But in actuality, Jesus was born in a small place. He was raised in a small place, came from unusual circumstances. So let's dive into this real quick. We're going to look at four different sets of verses. Micah 5:2. This is talking about where Jesus was born. At Christmas time, we sing a lot of songs about Bethlehem, not realizing that Bethlehem was actually in just a small little town, not where you would expect, again, the Messiah to come from. But you, Bethlehem Ephratah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from old, from ancient times. This is actually meaning to speak to the fact that Jesus, even though we celebrate his birth, and as a human, he was born on what we call Christmas Day. It probably was not December 25th. That's just an arbitrary day that was picked. But he has a birth date. But in actuality, Jesus always was. As part of the Godhead, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit, they always existed for all time. So his origins are not actually in Bethlehem. The start of his human journey is in Bethlehem. It's just a small little town. And you guys know the story. He ended up being born in what we call a barn, a stable. There wasn't even room at the small little inn for him. Such an unusual birth. We're going to come back to his mother Mary. He was born to a virgin who wasn't even married yet. Everything about Jesus went against the rules of what was expected of the day. We can look at John 1:1. Jesus grew up in a town called Nazareth. It was in the northern part of Israel. The main hub of Israel was in the southern part. He kind of grew up kind of far away from all of that. And what did people think of Nazareth? Well, this is a fun little story. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said, "Follow me." And Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." They were looking for a Messiah. They were looking for him, but he didn't come from where they expected. Jesus of Nazareth, the son of a carpenter Joseph. Nathanael's initial response before coming to faith: Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? It was not a well thought of town that he grew up in. Nathanael cries out, "Can anything good come from there?" Obviously, yes, good things can come from small places. If we continue on, we have this prophecy about Jesus as he's basically grown up in Isaiah 53. He grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. And this is the thing we forget, because all of our paintings, highly inaccurate, I'm pretty sure, but all of our paintings of Jesus have this very handsome guy. I don't think we know what Jesus looks like, honestly. We're going to be a little bit surprised. The other problem with a lot of our pictures of Jesus is that he's a white dude and doesn't look Middle East at all. But anyway, that aside, Isaiah 53 says this: He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. And he goes on to say he was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering, familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem, little respect. That's what the people of the day, that's how they viewed Jesus. Amazing, isn't it? He actually wasn't a handsome dude at all, as far as I can tell. I don't know. It just says that he had no beauty or majesty to attract us. If you had put together the script, you would have put together a super handsome guy that people were naturally attracted to. God chose for Jesus to be a guy that people were not naturally attracted to, at least physically. They were not attracted to him. And because of the path he had to walk, he actually repelled people in a certain sense. Amazing, isn't it? And finally, we're going to come to one final um, verse here in Matthew chapter 13. When Jesus had finished these parables, he moved on from there. And coming to his hometown, he began teaching the people in their synagogue, and they were amazed. Where and they're saying, "Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers?" They asked. "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" You see, the Messiah probably they thought would have come from a more royal branch of the family, with the right pedigree, not a carpenter's son. Isn't his mother's name Mary? She's just like one of us. And aren't his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? I mean, how could this possibly be the Messiah, they're saying? Aren't all of his sisters with us? And then did this man get where did this man get all of these things? And they took offense at him. And Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor except a prophet is not without honor except in his own town and his own home. So there you have it. The most important person in the history of mankind, the most important person in your life, most important person in my life, was born in an out of the way, unexpected, small little town. He grew up another small little town, like about 1,000 people, in the part of the country that people didn't think highly of those people. He was born to just a regular working class family, as we would say today, the son of a carpenter. He didn't have the right pedigree. Everything about him was small, small place, a birth, small place of growing up, a small family that he came from, an inconsequential family that he came from. And on top of that, he probably didn't have Burt Reynolds' handsomeness, or I don't know. I should pick somebody much more current than that. I just dated myself as rather old, but you know what I mean. None of these things. And yet, God chose, obviously, to use Jesus in a mighty way. Never despise little things and little places, including yourself and what God might choose to do through you, wherever you are in somebody's life somewhere. That's my word for today. I hope you have a good day, and I look forward to seeing you all, Lord willing, on Wednesday.